My name is Liz Skinner,
My name is Rick Skinner.
and we came to Cornerstone after we were married, and we visited many churches. We were not interested in a mega church, so at that time we lived on the outskirts of Katy. So we visited churches there, we visited churches here.
But we came here because of the people. You know, we love the people. Everybody made it was so warm and welcoming, and that made the difference for us. So that was in November. We joined November 14th of 1997, so about 24 years ago.
One of my favorite scriptures is Joshua 1:9. Be strong and courageous, and do not fear, for I am always with you. I don't really know when that became one of my favorites. I don't remember being afraid growing up. I had a great childhood. I don't even remember being afraid in my early adult life. Even when I had, my daughter, I wasn't afraid. I think I became afraid when I became a grandmother. And it wasn't because I'm afraid for me. I'm afraid for them. I'm afraid in the world we live in, especially now. I'm afraid for their safety at school. I'm a teacher, and so I know what goes on at schools. and then, then I got afraid when my mom was dying. So I try to focus back on that scripture so that I'm not afraid for my loved ones.
So one of my favorite scriptures is Matthew 6:25-34 that sums it up as don't worry. And I wouldn't say, it challenged you from a faith standpoint, in that scripture, to have faith. And if God takes care of the little birds and the flowers in the fields, so much more he loves us that we're going to be okay. And I always kind of give myself this talking to that, am I being just very conscientious? Because I'm always thinking about contingency plans, whether it's something at work or whether it's a trip we're on, that Murphy's Law is going to happen, right? If anything go wrong, it will. And so I'm always trying to think, well, if that happens, what are we going to do to overcome that? But sometimes I feel like it's worry. I'm always thinking about tomorrow. And the closing of that scripture says, there's enough to worry about today, don't worry about tomorrow. So it just gives me comfort. And I try to read it regularly to remind myself not to worry, let it go, let God. But that's easier said than done for me.
I think our two scriptures kind of go hand in hand. The funny thing is, he chose his and I chose mine, and we didn't talk about it. Like, he sent it in to you, and then I sent mine in, and I'm like, hey, what'd you do? And I was like, oh, wait a minute, that's sort of like what I did, So they both can be very comforting if you continue to read them over and over. Don't worry, don't be afraid. But like Rick has said before, it's easier said than done. I try when I'm afraid to go to Lauren Daigle and love her songs, and that helps me get stronger. And then I help instill that in my grandkids when I think they might be facing something that way too.